10 athletes that died in front of their fans. That's a tragic thing. I'm Nathan, musician, spent 13 years in the funeral profession. Death, we're all going to die. And if you are a fan of sports, perhaps you've been one at these events and you've seen this. We're not supposed to be exposed to this type of stuff. And this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to dive right on in. I was watching it. Dale Earnhardt driving in the Daytona 500 in 2001 on the final lap, making the turn, hits the wall. Radio comms go silent. Yes, he was in third place at the time, and in front of him was actually his son. And Darrell Waltrip, Michael Waltrip, wins the race himself. It was very sad because the quieted comms meant that he wasn't responding, and medical attention rushed to him. He then later succumbs to his injury at the local hospital. Darrell Waltrip Jr. rushed after the second place win. It was a very sad time. I remember watching that on the television. There's a lot of silence, and there's just a lot of like that feeling that gets in your throat. Because again, tragedy, when it hits, when it strikes, there's this fight or flight that's about, it comes about us. And then there's this element of what can I do, what can I not do? Obviously, I'm watching a TV. I'm a little kid too, so that's the thing I can do. But if you're physically present, that feeling, especially if you're a fan, and he is still talked about because of his injury, because of his subsequent death, they became more strict with guidelines for safety measures, the Hans device, and other measures as regards to on the track itself with impact. And nonetheless, may his memory be eternal. If you were present at the track, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you're watching it, let me know, because I do remember where I was on February of 2001 watching that. Chuck Hughes, NFL, played Lions. He was a Lions football player in 1971. He was playing against the Chicago Bears, and he succumbs to his injuries. He just falls, collapses on to the field. He was not hit, and it was later that he died at the hospital. And people were just flabbergasted because he was a very famous, very well-known, very well-respected football player for the Lions, and someone who looks good, right? You see someone and they look healthy, and you're like, oh, what happened? And unfortunately, as we progress through this list, you're going to see this common theme that you just don't know, and you leave a mark. And I talk about it all the time, wherever it is that you meet me, whether it's here on YouTube, which be sure to subscribe and click the bell up there so you can be notified when I release content exclusive here. But wherever you meet me on this platform, I meet you, and it's authenticity, and it's just genuinely wanting to be good and do good for others, because you're going to leave a mark on this world, and you never know when you're just going to drop. You're just going to drop. It's sad. Hank Rathers, you remember this individual, the basketball player. He was dunking at a basketball game on the court. He was known for his playfulness on the court. He played for Loyola Marymount University, and he was in the early 1990. He was going for a dunk, like he had done numerous times. He dunks, he makes the basket, and then he collapses on the court and dies. College. An incredible basketball player. The university ends up, of course, retiring his jersey, number 44, which I think is a great gesture, which is a great symbol to show that, hey, we really respect what he provided this program or the sport or the fans. You know, it's just a genuine act. And it's sad. And again, you know, whenever you watch the footage, a lot of the footage, it blurs it out the moment that he begins to collapse onto the court, because it's a tragic shock for people to witness that, bear witness to. It's very difficult to expose yourself to those things. I have been a part of thousands of funerals, which have inspired songs which are streaming all over now, and I have yet to see in my life, 13 years nearly in the funeral profession, someone die. Never. I have not. And don't know how I would handle it if that were the case, you know? And the next one, we'll just say Agayo Jr. And he was killed in 2015. Pero was very well known for the Mexican wrestling, and he was actually wrestling on the rink, or in the rink, if you will. And there's this move that another wrestler was performing, and it caused Agayo to hit his neck on the rope in a special way in which that caused him to succumb to his injuries at the hospital. And the wrestling world was shocked because this young man, all of these individuals who I'm talking about are very, very young people. They're young. They're healthy. They're athletes. They're athletic. And that one is a freak accident. They stopped the match. They stopped the wrestling match. Everything went silent. They rushed paramedics on. They rushed him off on a stretcher, and he succumbed to his injuries. And it's very sad that happened. And then there's Ray Chapman. Ray Chapman, not to be confused with Rex Chapman, who his childhood home is right next door to my childhood home. This is Ray Chapman, who was a baseball player. In 1920, he played. In 1920, he was playing for, let me get this right, I'm thinking. He was playing for the Indians, the Cleveland Indians he played for, and then he was playing the New York Yankees. He was up to bat, and a pitcher hit him in the head. He's from Beaver Dam, Kentucky. And the pitch that hit him in the head that killed him, he dropped. The ball was dirty. It was dusk. They didn't have the lights like they do now. And it's the only death on field from an injury that Major League Baseball has seen since it's been in existence. I can't imagine watching one of my favorite players just dropping, And that is sad to think about. Again, from an injury, because that leads me to my next player, who is Tommy Hansen. Tommy Hansen is the pitcher that in 2014 and 15, he was on the pitch and he dropped. 29 years old, 6'6", huge dude, healthy dude, great arm. And he was on the pitch, drops, rushed to the hospital, again, like all the others we previously mentioned, and drops dead. And it's very sad. People from all over the league were sending their sentiments, they were sending their well wishes, and a young man who died from cocaine use, and his heart couldn't handle it, so he succumbed to his use. I'm not a doctor, and that's the only way I can just speak to it. This is just me talking about the 10 sports stars dropping dead in front of their fans. And I can't imagine. If you were there, let me know in the comments below. Again, be sure to subscribe and click that bell. And we're gonna keep rolling in regards to this list. What about Reggie Lewis, who played for the Boston Celtics? Reggie Lewis, again, very fit, very athletic, and he is on the court and he drops. Again, the footage that I've seen just blurs him. He collapses and dies. A lot of African American males will have hereditary heart conditions, and it is very similar to that of Hank, who died after dunking. There's a lot of underlying unknown, untreated heart problems. I'm not a doctor, but because of all of these individuals' deaths, the leagues became more strict on their precaution, the way in which that they did screenings for their athletes. They heavily increased and ramped those up. The Boston Celtics, of course, retire his number as well. I think it's a great gesture to most certainly do that. And then another individual, I can't read the handwriting here. What does this say? Oh, Antonio Puerto. Antonio was a soccer player. He was well known for his technical skills on the field, or football, if you are a big football fan. And he was actually on the field. There's been a ton of Premier League soccer deaths over the years that they just, it's wild. And the footage shows he is by the goal and he just falls, collapses. He slowly goes down, and it's wild to see. It's amazing to know that 60,000, 50,000 supporters can, in a blink of an eye, go from super loud to hearing a pin drop. The level of reverence that occurred during this moment, and many, unfortunately, moments like this are unexplainable, and that is sad to see that this has happened time and time again. He died, of course, a few hours later, like all the others who were rushed. The paramedics get to them quickly, but they just succumb to these injuries that were unknown. And he had an irregular heartbeat that was, under stressful moments, it would increase as far as irregularities, and that was one of the factors in which it took his life. Doing what you love, we speak on this side of life, and we visualize what we call tragedy and sadness and heaviness and weight, and we think about, does this hurt? Does that hurt? And that's scary. That's scary to think about, and that's something to speak to. But wouldn't it be beautiful if you're on the other side of a moment such as this? Not that you wish tragedy upon yourself or anyone you love, but doing what you love more than anything in the world. Doing what you love, and that be the moment in which you are forever remembered, right? For me as a musician, my music that's streaming everywhere, I'm so proud of it, right? Performing on stage, dropping, it's something to think about. Let me know in the comments below what you love to do. And if that could be like this beautiful picture that you painted in the event that you just blissfully went into eternity that way. However you celebrate. I mean, just doing what you love, whether just painting a masterpiece or conducting. It's something. What about Patrick Kang? Young guy. Very, very fit. Did you know that you, on average, run, I heard this, I played soccer and then I went and started kicking football, but on average, you can run multiple miles any given game. Multiple. So the fitness of these individuals. Patrick was a midfielder. He was playing for Romania, and he is running and has a heart attack towards the middle of midfield, and he dies. He's rushed to the hospital, and he is pronounced dead. The league, they retire his jersey. He's number 14 forever on that team and in that league. And that's a beautiful thing to think about. Remember, for something good or bad, it's true. And these individuals, again, because of tragic moments that are bad, but the goodness that they brought to a sport is forever remembered, forever celebrated. And all these individuals and their families, we lift them up in love. And let me know in the comments below if you know of any of these players. If you were at one of these events, or if you were watching it, like I was, the Daytona 500, let me know. I want to hear these stories. And then last but certainly not least, Dan Snyder, who played in 2003. He played forever in the NHL. And he played for the Avengers, and he was in a car crash with his friend who was driving at high rates of speed, and he was ejected from the vehicle itself. Succumbed to his injuries, and the hockey community forever celebrates, mourns his death. Wear your seatbelt. Be careful. We know not the time, place of when our deaths occur. So if we can prevent by doing things that we know will save, protect us, then we should most certainly do that. Think of a player that you know that has succumbed to injuries on the field or on the court or on the rink that you want me to cover. Let me know in the comments below. Again, be sure to follow right here, subscribe, because we release content exclusive to YouTube, and click the bell to be notified when I do. It just made me think of the hockey player that was cut with the skate, but we'll talk about that next time. And please know that you matter, you're worth it, and I'm grateful to meet you right here where we talk about life and death, which you cannot have a beautiful song without tragedy, and I don't believe that you could have a beautiful funeral or celebration, memorial of any kind without having beautiful music. There's this beautiful parallel of being in the funeral profession and the musician that I am, and I'm grateful for it. Thanks for streaming. Thanks for being here. We'll see you in the next one.